All right, welcome to a Forward Madison FC club update. I'm Jason Klein here with Carl Craig, our head coach, and Kuba Krzyzostaniak. How are you guys doing today?
Really good. Very good. Yeah. I was out at the farm visiting Lionel Bessie a couple days ago. So excited to share that video with the fans. But yeah, we're all good on my end.
Carl?
Yes, same here. Busy bees. Neil Lavey and I have been joined at the hip for the last 3 weeks. So, players talking football, having meetings galore. So, no complaints here. Been a great couple of weeks.
What about you, Jason?
Me? Well, it's been nice. I've had a happy holidays, getting ready to settle in and hibernate for the winter before we start playing soccer again. You know me. I wish I could be like a flamingo and migrate south. That's the dream.
I thought you meant wear pink feathers every day of the week. You can do that if you want.
Yeah. We might try it out if we ever need a mascot.
There you go. Yeah, you've got the legs for it.
Yeah.
So Kuba and I have cornered Carl on video here because we wanted to give you, the fans, an update on what Forward Madison's offseason has been looking like and what to expect down the line. So I'll start it off with a general question. Coach Craig, what has Forward Madison looked like since you've come into the team, and what is coming down the line?
Like a bomb site. A lot of players were out of contract. Some players were released, some players moved on. But yeah, I mean, frankly, you start with a list of about 24, and it's considerably smaller at this point for various reasons. So a big part of the process to this point has been to assess who we wanted to retain. And of course, I've used Neil's expertise and insight on coming to those decisions. So that's been a big part of it. But and then also looking to see, budgets, how much we've got to spend, what positions we need, what are the profiles we're looking for. And as mentioned numerous times in interviews and chats over the last few weeks, we're looking to be a little more, for want of a better term, adventurous on the field. So looking to try and scouring video and film the players to see who suits the profile, in addition to the parts that we need. So that's, from a football perspective, that's what we've been doing for the last few weeks.
Awesome. Carl, so you're kind of coming in, new coach for this team, for the players that are signed already. How often are you talking to some of the guys that are already on the roster? What's kind of how does that process go in terms of starting to build that relationship before you guys get together in camp and everything?
Yeah, it's full disclosure, it's a little slow right now because there's so much else to do. So, but I did have a really nice conversation with Noah Fusong and Mike Vang and Jiro Toyama, as well as Connor Tobin and Eric Leonard. So actually not too bad. It's probably a little faster than I thought. However, it feels somewhat distant because some of those guys have been re-signed, and it's like, hey, how are we doing? Chit chat, catch up about what their thoughts are, what they're looking for in the new year, and with absolute respect to those people. I know they're good and they're good to go. I've got other things, unfortunately. It sounds rude, but it's the truth. I've got so many things that are in boxes I need to check to get to. But no, it's been really nice. Noah got a new tattoo over the break there, so that's pretty quick. Like, the season hasn't been done too long, so Muhammad Ali is his man. He got a big tattoo on the side of his leg, which is pretty impressive. Well, a nice chat about that and what it meant to him. Mike Vang, I'm still in the Twin Cities right now. Mike Vang is in the cities, and a nice conversation with Mike. So, yeah, just generally, the focus has been a bit more on those who are not here, as opposed to those who are signed. And any current players who I haven't reached out to yet, I apologise, and I will be speaking to you shortly.
You say the focus is on players who are not here. By that, do you mean the signings that you're thinking of adding to the team?
And I know it's dangerous on radio when you nod your head. So I'm not sure if you put this as a film, but it's great, isn't it? Yes, the major part of what we've been doing is we've got to scour, turn all the stones over. We've got to find footballers. Yeah, it's Neil and I discussed the style of football, and then we got to look now what spots are available, where are the holes in the roster. Because there were so many released, there are lots of gaps. I think our defence is in pretty good shape in terms of who's returning, etc. But we still need guys to come in and fill the roster. Maybe there'll be starters, maybe there'll be development type players. They'll be less experienced with a positive upside. And then it was a little disappointing last year in terms of scoring goals and creating scoring chances. And every team wants to improve that area of the game typically, and that's what we really need to do. So there's been a lot of focus on trying to establish who will fit the profile of our forwards, and then again who's available and who we can afford. So it's easy to say who we like, but is he available and can we afford him? That's a big part of the challenge. And in addition to that, whilst it's coming up to the holidays here, ordinarily just after the holidays, most of us northern football clubs would be heading down south at some point to go see players, whether it be in pre-season training, combine, or that sort of thing. But it's just not possible with the COVID stuff going on. So that's an additional hurdle that we have to navigate as we're trying to establish players, because it's an agent's job to get his client or her client a job. So they send us the good bits, and rightly so, but we've got to look at the whole player. We've got to check out the personality traits. We've got to see whether they actually fit us. We've got to look beyond the lovely clips, because everyone's got a great bit sort of little intro package, where it's impressive. Yeah. So we got to actually look at games and see, does this guy work for us? And that's pretty time consuming. Sometimes you can make your mind up quickly, but other times, you just got to look, and that's the only way you can do. Watch the game and see where it goes. So that is a big part of the job.
Mm-hmm. On recruiting, kind of talk about a little bit here, Carl. Do you have kind of like, is it sort of any sort of like data approach where, you have kind of things that you're really specifically checking off, or is it more of like you want to interview the guy and get a feeling for what he's like as a person? What would you say for you is kind of more important, or is it all kind of part of it?
It's a little bit of all of those things, Kuba. The personality check is essential. Some of the agents, consultants that we work with, is kind of an understanding where, let's say Joe Bloggs is an agent and I trust him. I know he's not going to hire a guy who's a pain in the backside or who's lazy, etc., etc. So there's part of that, but in addition to that, then there is the due diligence checks where it's like, hey, do you know this guy? Former players, former teammates, former coaches, all of that stuff. And and you want an honest answer. You know, you maybe don't get the total personality that you want, but you can live with that. But we need a guy who will fit with my style, who will fit with the profile of the football club. And I've been candid in telling agents over the last few weeks that, look, they're expected to be part of the club here, not just to come here and play football. We expect community involvement, we expect interaction, etc. You know, so if that's not the player's MO, and he's not into that part of it, then this probably isn't the club for him. It doesn't matter how good of a footballer he is. That is an expectation for the players that I sign. So you know, that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, we've got to check out. And on the football side, Kuba, obviously we'll look at the traits, what he can bring in the 4 phases, where he would fit in the jigsaw puzzle based on the players we've got. So we might have an eye on a certain player and then he's not available, or he's been said, whatever reason, he goes off. And we say, okay, how does this fit in? What do we need to make this match? So it is sort of a patchwork quilt type thing where the attributes of this fella, how we're going to build it. You know, we really like this guy. We've got him nailed down. Start to think ahead. How will we attack? How will we defend? Okay, what kind of player do we need in order to be able to do these things? So that's where it is. We've got a fella associated with the club. Actually, I just hired him this week. You'll be familiar with him, but I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. Eric Wilderbeest.
Yeah, sure.
Wild,
I think.
Okay, Eric, you've been doing some video work and analysis for the club over the last year. Tell me who you think the best players are who don't play with us, who played against us last year. And if he's any kind of analyst, then he knows what he's talking about. At least he's got a profile. So he provided Neil and I with a list of players, some of them who were already on my radar from various sources, and some that had been mentioned to me. But yeah, so you know, we'll utilize Eric. He's very much into that. So another resource for us to look on. But he's very much into the statistical stuff. We also use a program called Y Scout, which we can put what we want from a player in. It'll give us lists. So it's basically, for the sake of argument, every professional footballer in the world, male footballer at this point. So we can find most people, and even NCAA players, you know, youth academies, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a massive tool for us to use, resource. But you know, it's still that part where we cannot actually get out and see people in the flesh, which is making it a little more challenging than normal.
Well, I want to go back to what you said earlier about finding the right players for the club, because that was something you really emphasized when you first came in, which isn't very long ago, maybe a month ago. You said I talk about it like it's been this long time, but no, of course it hasn't been. But one of the things that you really emphasized in your first interviews with media was that the players who come here aren't just going to be soccer players; they're going to be participants in a community. Again, I've got to ask how you can start to determine that when it's so hard to meet these people face to face. When you've identified a player, do you say, hey, can I have a Zoom with you? Or something like that? Is it like a job interview, but to play striker?
It is, absolutely. You know, we've seen the raw material. We've seen the player perform on video and film. And then, yeah, absolutely. It's especially these days. You know what? Zoom's not the worst thing. We we go crazy with it when we're all sitting on all day. But before Zoom, or before we were all familiar with it, it was being utilized. In the past, would be on the phone. I think Zoom's much better than the telephone call. So I think Zoom has been a major plus for us in this, one of the few major pluses during this pandemic. Although some might, beg to differ, and I appreciate it, and I feel that way occasionally. But yeah, it's like a job interview. And one of my first questions to a footballer is, what do you want to have happen? What do you want from this experience? And I want to know where they're at. And then certainly I can dig into whatever the answer is or the responses are. But I want to know what the player wants. And so just gauge where he's at, what he's looking for in his football experience, what, the kind of person he is. And but yeah, it very much is like a job interview.
I'd love to know if I was a prospective player, what type of questions you would ask me.
I just asked you the main one, and then I'll riff off that.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah, when I first met you guys, I asked, what do you want? And asked the same question, when I came down for the interview, what do you want? What do you want from the coach? Because, a slightly different position from me. But the reality is, in a lot of interview situations, it's like this bloody guessing game. Like, well, hang on a minute. Why don't I just ask what you want first? But it's like, I've got to get the right answer, and I've got to be a mind reader in order to secure this job. Well, I'll save myself the effort, then I'll save me mind reading for the lottery and the lottery numbers. And then I'll just ask you, right, what the heck do you want from me? What do you want? Right? So I know at times that comes across as a bit ballsy, but when you're out like me, you've got to be confident. You've got to be willing to ask those things. And anyone who's never thought of that, hey, that's a little bit of advice, if you will. Take it or leave it, but certainly get to the bottom of what it is. Because I think one of the greatest ways or to secure a position is to understand what it's about. As you get older, you can't necessarily be as choosy as such. But what you realize when you get to my age is like, well, I might just not need a job. I need the job that I'm looking for. So in that, it's like, I understand at times people, out of work, need a job, got to pay the bills, need a paycheck, etc. That's a reality. In my situation coming to Madison, I didn't need the job. I had a job, but I really wanted the job. But it had to be a job that fitted with who I am, where I'm at right now, as a person. And so if this is not for me, then I just stop wasting everyone's time and say, thank you, all the best. And this is the same with players. It's a case of, well, you might be a good footballer, but you're not quite the right one for me. So it doesn't mean to say you're a bad person, you're a bad footballer, you're a bad character. It's just not the fit for me. And that's my approach to the whole thing, really. I need people who buy in to what this football club is. It's been relatively effortless for me because this football club appeals to who I am. It fits with my personality. But I want footballers to understand that, we're not changing the world for a player. The player has to come in understanding what we've got to offer and what we are. And I fit into that. You're not changing the club for me. I'm coming into the club to be a part of what's already there and help to grow it even further.
Great. Carl, I wanted to ask, what's kind of your, let's two-part a little bit. When you're looking at League One, how do you see the league in terms of, competitiveness and kind of how do you think coming in, what you're going to face with the other teams? And then have you had any contact with either other head coaches from the league, anyone you have kind of relationships with already before taking this position?
No, I haven't had any contact with other coaches at this point. I mean, it's a crazy period for all of us, wheeling and dealing. And actually, I'm guessing a lot of those fellas, whilst they're wheeling and dealing, probably took a little bit of time off after a long, arduous season, which I had a long, arduous season, but not in football at this league. So, I'm fresh and excited to go there. Probably winds down a little bit, looking for a breather. But no, Greenville champions 2 years in a row. That's what we've got to be shooting for. I watched some of their video. I coached as a youth coach, bit of a centre of excellence back in the UK, Sheffield Wednesday. John Hawkes was playing for them in them days, but I never actually met him. But I suppose that would be my little opening line to him. No, I think they have set the standard for League One currently. The way they play their football is impressive. The way he's got them organised is impressive, and I think that's, as we're looking to build this roster, that's what we're up against. As with a lot of teams at this level, for various reasons, there's massive turnover, and they've proven 2 years in a row that they know what they're doing. So players come, players go for whatever reason. We've got to get up to speed. They're one of the more complete teams, I think, in the league, not just because they won it, but just the way they play their football. I've looked at some of the other games, and the games get pretty stretched. There's things that happen at higher level which make it a bit more challenging, which don't occur in this level. But I think in watching video and watching how teams set up, what I'm noticing, there's lots of space in the games. So it's for us, for Neil and I, to teach the players those cues and the recognition and highlight some of the things, as well as recreating situations for them, more realistic situations, so they get to understand. But it's a good level of football, but there is so much space at times that opponents offer that it's very exploitable. And I think Greenville have done a great job of that. And Omaha come in with a high press, high tempo type of game. Yeah. That's where football is in this league. And if you can protect your back, I mean, talk about spread out. You got what Omaha brought to the table, and what Greenville brought to the table is a compactness. And if you're going to press higher, then you better get aggressive, and you better cut down the gaps and cut down the spaces and prevent the penetrating passes, because there's great big spaces behind you. So it's a whole mindset, whereas it appeared to me, Madison's approach was to deny the space behind, which resulted in not a lot of goals being conceded, but also, not a lot of chances created. So there's not a right or a wrong, but for me, I would want to try and score more goals than look not to lose a game as such. I don't for one moment think Darryl didn't go out to not win games. It's just different ways of going out about winning games. So with his pool of players, he did that because he thought it was the right way at that time. For me, not starting totally afresh, because I have to, with the guys who were retained, had options and they stayed on. I've got to work with those guys and teach those, or bring them into my style of football and our version of the game in order to go where we want. But it's easy to say we want to be more attacking. Well, of course we do, because we didn't create enough chances. Chances to goal ratio is pretty high. I don't know the number, but if we were one chance, one goal, we would be phenomenal. But the reality is even at the top end of the game, it's maybe 1 in 8, 1 in 10. So maybe that's a bit steep, but it's high. It's not as higher than you think it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a revamp. A refurb is probably more appropriate, because there's guys there, so I've got to tap into what they've got and understand what they've got, whilst having my own vision for how we'd like to play. And as alluded to earlier, it's that finding the pieces for the jigsaw to fit together.
So just to extend this response about the style of play that you want to put on the field, If you could give our fans a comparison that they might understand, what might Forward Madison look like next year? Would it look a little more like that Omaha team? Would it be a really high pressing team? What do you foresee as of now, knowing that things could change?
Well, it will depend on the pieces that we're able to bring in, or the players that we're able to bring in. But the profile is more attacking. You know, high press isn't always necessary. It's a trend. I think, you know, you get a high press against broken, you've got loads of space behind you where the other team goes if you don't do it right. I mean, even look at Leeds United currently. When they get broken, they get broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, oof. My team the other day tried to play a more open game against them and got absolutely smoked. Yeah. So it hasn't necessarily been my, you know, in the past, a high press, but much more of a medium block, looking to set traps, because then that leaves space behind for a counter. But, you know, it's certainly start to defend and higher up the field. But once you're in the defensive mode, defending happens. So it's a case of where you want to do it. And you know, generally, I mean, the initial approach will be from the top of my head here, and my vision is sort of a medium block, and then we set traps, and then we go from there. But very much a controlled approach, because I think that's the right way. And I do think, well, the closer you win the ball to the opponent's goal, you could argue it's easier to score goals.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, depending on how the other team sets up, if you bring them out a little bit, there's a tendency for there to be a bit more space to go into. So if you haven't got that direct route to goal, then there's often a little more space to get into. And, you know, every team who has speed, and every football team with speed in that team poses danger to the opponent. So speed and dynamism is certainly part of the makeup of the players that we're looking to sign. And that youthful enthusiasm, exuberance, where people are coming here not only as a good footballer right now, but have an upside and can you know, use us somewhat as a stepping stone to go to higher levels. And I'm quite comfortable with that. I think if we're getting the right players and we're doing the right job as a staff, then we should expect as a football club for players to move on and forwards and upwards. And that would be a sign of success for us. You know, let's not pretend we're here, we're in the third tier currently. There are higher levels than us. We want to win this. There's no pro rel at this point. So our aim is to win championships and hopefully develop great footballers who support us, do a great job for us, and then move on to a higher level. That's really what it's about in that sense.
Awesome. So Carl, kind of what did the next few weeks look like for you? So you got the holidays. I don't know, you're probably sticking around at home, I'm guessing. But what is your timeline right now, and do you know when there's going to be a start in terms of the season here?
The season is forecast to start on April 24th. Pre-season forecasted start March 15th. Just this morning, Neil and I were chatting about some combine dates, and we're bouncing things off one another. And it's, can we do one? Will we not be able to do one? Well, so we've planned it. We've got the dates. We've got to take it to the boss, see what he thinks. But we are at this point, or we do have at this point, tentative plans for a combine, either in the Chicago area, you know, Northern Illinois area, Rockford, round about mid-February. But we've got to confirm the dates before putting anything out there, just to avoid confusion. And then, Illinois was being pretty badly affected by the pandemic, COVID. So, while here in Minnesota, things are opening up a little bit again after the new year. I've no idea what's going on in Illinois. That's the most likely place for a combine, given availability of dome space, plus population density, where it's easier for players to get to, and there are more players in that area. So that's I've got to speak to Connor pretty soon over that one. But the outline's there for us right now. It's just a case of getting the nod from the boss and have new guys in the front office help us promote it, and away we go, really.
Me and Jason are sitting on hundreds of social media messages from players around the world. So they're excited.
Well, in case you weren't, I'm telling you now, your name's on the list too. You've already started. So yeah, and here's the other challenge. We're speaking about challenges. This can be positive for us. The union, it looks likely that in the championship, they may not be allowing international players. That may be beneficial to us, actually. We still have a limited number of spots available to us. But maybe teams higher up want to loan us guys out, or we can sign guys who, ordinarily might end up in the championship, but because of the sort of block on new international players joining, that might make us a little more attractive for an international player, with the understanding that he needs to be in the country to be a sort of established player before he's allowed to move into that next level. So, that can work both ways, but certainly we've got our eye on what's going on there. And yeah, I think whilst it'll be disappointing for some people from overseas, with sort of a bit of a block, that could be positive for us.
Awesome.
So related to that, I did just want to ask, as I think we're starting to wind down here, a question about the Chicago Fire, because that's certainly going to be part of our player recruitment for next season. The only thing is it's complicated by, like everything else, the pandemic, not knowing if you're going to be able to get players for the whole season. That was something that affected us last year. I'm sure you're going to have conversations with them and shape the roster a little bit around who you'll be able to get on loan.
With all fairness, Jason, they are a partner, and it's definitely a partnership. But we'll do our roster how we want to do it. In all fairness to you, I don't want to be rude in saying that, but yeah, I mean, we are an independent football club who has a valid and valuable relationship with Chicago Fire. It's probable, or it's been alluded, that I'd be invited down there to go spend some time during pre-season to see what players are available. Of course, their head coach is going to choose his main roster, and it's his roster. But there'll be players on the fringes where maybe they can't get the experience that they need, or they're not quite up to speed yet to fit his first team roster. But there's obviously quality and value there, but those guys need to get out and get a game. And often the case is the younger players, as was the case with the fellas who came here last year, where academy is just not enough for them. So to get into this league is valuable experience for those young lads. And so I see a similar thing going on next year. We have spoken about, Chris Brady, Alex Moniz, Alan Rodriguez, and a couple of other fellas. So yeah, we've got to go and see what we need, see what's available. But the boss down there will have obviously first pick. He'll have his plans, and I'm absolutely open to whoever is available to us. But it also has to be the right person for us and fit into what we need. So yeah,
Well, look, I think it's an exciting moment in the young history of Forward Madison FC. It seems like a time where there's a lot of change for us, and uh, change that I think is leaning in a positive direction. So, um, to round off this conversation, is there anything else you would want to communicate to Fort Madison's supporters right now as we stand in mid-December during the early stages of the off season?
First things first, I know we come to the holiday season. I know out there's a vaccine. I don't know how great it is, but I think there's a potential for letting our guard down and being a little bit crazy given the circumstances. So the message is that I want to see you at the stadium next year. I want to spend time with you if you're around during pre-season. We want to share I want to share great times with everyone in Madison. And if we let our guard down too soon here, it's a reality that some people will not be around. It's an absolute fact. So that would be the first thing. The second thing, though, as best you can, whilst being conscious and mindful of the pandemic, have a wonderful holiday season. I'm really looking forward to getting out there and meeting you at the stadium. The ugly mug's being on enough social media things right now. I'll be in Madison in February sometime. If you see me in the streets or what have you, give me a shout. Hopefully we don't have to social distance as much at that point. Maybe it's all gone. I doubt it, but maybe. But yeah, I mean, have a wonderful time. Be safe. And let's make sure we're all healthy enough to connect in that wonderful city in the summer there once the season gets started.
Carl, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
You're welcome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.